This is Leonard Crofoot, and you are listening to Humanist Trek. The elected one will see you now.
Perhaps I could use this as an excuse to go to those far-off planets with little polka-dotted people if necessary, and be able to talk about love, war, nature, God, sex, all those things that go to make up the excitement of the human condition.
This is Captain Jean-Luc Picard.
Welcome aboard.
Jean-Luc Picard to the Starship Enterprise.
You want to review your rapid progress?
That nonsense is centuries behind us. To the Starship Enterprise.
Oh, yeah?
That is enough, damn it!
Tempo, mon capitan.
To the Starship Enterprise.
You can't deny that you're still a dangerous, savage child race.
Of the planet Earth.
You just don't get it, do you, Jean-Luc? That is the exploration that awaits you. Not mapping stars and studying nebula, but charting the unknown possibilities of existence.
Jolan True, and welcome to Humanist Trek. It's a comedy Star Trek podcast about the humanism in Star Trek. I'm Sarah Ray.
And I'm Allie Ashmead.
And this week, we're joined by a special guest, actor, dancer, singer, triple threat,
Woohoo!
Leonard Crofoot. Welcome aboard, Leonard.
Thank you. Thank you for the invite.
Yeah, we're super excited to have you on to talk about this episode. Let's start at the beginning, because I'm sure a lot of people know you for the Trek characters that you've brought to life that we love. But before all of that, you went from being a wheelchair-bound child to incredible dancer, and that is quite a journey.
Sure. It was crippled when I was 4 years old, put in a wheelchair, stayed there for 3 years, put on a leg brace, which shortened one leg, and once I could walk again, they put me in ballet class to strengthen my legs, and I took to it. And I've been dancing, performing, singing, dancing, acting all this time. I went straight into grade school, second grade. I didn't go to kindergarten or first grade because they didn't allow wheelchair accessibility. So
wow,
that's my
amazing.
early story.
Right? We've come so far, I feel, in such a short time. Yeah. I do have to say, learning about your Broadway history gave me like a completely new perspective in watching your acting work. I see so much of dance in your movement on screen, and in a way that teenage me watching the series for the first time obviously didn't pick up back then, you know. So that was fun to discover all of these years later.
Yeah, it was, I incorporate the movement. I'm primarily a dancer. All the Broadway shows, I've been in 6 Broadway shows, you know, and I was there from 67 to 85 doing theater. And then when I went into films, I had a little bit before that, but and television, I incorporated movement, and a lot of times I was hired because of it. I think The Offspring was because I could move, and they wanted somebody who could move. But then it turned out it was limited movement because of the makeup in the inner thigh. It wouldn't let you move your legs very much without breaking the seal.
Oh, wow.
So, you know, that limited the movement, but it was great because I could do the head things, you know, stuff and the shoulders, and all that's movement.
Yeah, you can definitely tell the way your posture and everything it's definitely a dancer's posture.
Yeah, thank you. Well, I worked early on with recitals, but also I was hired as an American kid among many kids for the Bolshoi Kirov when they played the Shrine Auditorium in Los Angeles.
Oh, wow.
I worked with both companies. We worked at the Falcon Studios up in Hollywood. It's gone now. Big barn place. It was great. And I got to take class with them. So I started early, you know, working.
Yeah. And you are still working.
Yes.
Today, still dancing, still doing all the things.
Yeah, I just finished a commercial, but I can't tell. I'm under non-disclosure agreement. I can't give you the title. Also, a film which is coming out, and I can't give you the title of that either. But they'll both be coming out in this. One probably in March, and then the other might be in March or April.
Excellent.
But yeah, I'm still working. They're both dancing in both. Yeah.
And teaching.
and teaching. I work at. I'm starting Tuesday, going back to the Ralph Waldo Emerson School in Burbank. I've been teaching
wow.
kids movement and dance, and I've been doing it for 15 years.
Wow.
And I love it. I love those kids. I love that school, and I'll be there for the whole month of February teaching them movement and dance. I teach them Petrushka and
Um,
some piece to Daft Punk,
oh, nice.
Yeah.
technologic, kind of
Oh,
stuff. And they have a ball, teaching ballroom,
I
and
love
all
that.
sorts of stuff.
I love that so much, and I love that you're doing what you love because
Oh, I love it.
that's I can tell. I can tell. That's
Yeah,
amazing.
it's great fun.
What was your relationship to Star Trek prior to joining the Next Gen cast here? Like, were you a fan of the original series?
Yeah, in the 60s, I watched all the episodes. I was glued to the television. It was something really exciting. Every episode, Tribbles was my favorite.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And but I mean, I looked at them all, but I haven't seen them in years. But back then, I saw them all,
Yeah.
and I waited for it to come on. It was very special. And then when Star Trek Next Generation came along, uh, I didn't know what to expect exactly, so I went to the audition. It was for The Last Outpost for a
Oh,
Ferengi.
Hmm.
And I read for all three characters, but then they came and they said, we're not going to use you for this. We have something else in mind. So they said, tell your agent, we'll be in touch. So I
I'm so
waited some months. I forgot all about it. And then they called me in for Angel One. And that's how I got Angel One. I walked in, I read a little bit, and they said, okay, you're on. This is the one we were thinking of for you.
Awesome.
And so that's how I got Angel One.
I like that because the early Ferengi were very much a physical character too. There was a lot of
Sure.
specific movement in the way they moved and acted, but you would have had to have all that shit glued to your head, and
yeah. I gotta say though, I'm glad you were
Yeah.
not a Ferengi.
Yes.
I think you were way better in the Trent role and as Lal. I think.
Agreed.
Yeah, I'm so glad you were not a Ferengi. They're despicable.
Well, I can play that.
All right, well, let's get into this episode then. It's Star Trek The Next Generation, Season 1, Episode 14, Angel One.
Commander, you'll soon be getting an intruder alert.
What? We got something, sir.
Intruder alert, sir.
It's an old-style starship, sir. Constellation class, heading this way under impulse com.
Number one, kindly take charge of our guests until we have time to decide what we're going to do with them. Sir, number one, keep them out of my way.
The Enterprise has gone looking for the Odin, an old freighter that went missing 7 years ago. First of all, you don't rate high enough on the priority list for anyone to come looking for 7 years, but apparently you are high enough on the priority list for the Federation flagship to be the one to come looking for you?
They're not even Federation. It's not a Federation ship, but they're looking for them for.
So there's no survivors found on the freighter itself, but they did find 3 escape pods missing, and that leads us to Angel One, the closest planet to the Odin. On the bridge, we learn that this is a very Earth-like planet, which is convenient for filming, similar to the mid-20th century, and Data gets another too-specific moment as he explains that the escape pods would have traveled 5 months, 14 days, 11 hours, 2 minutes, and 57 seconds.
They talk about what they know about Angel One. It is a Class M planet. As it turns out, Angel One is a world where women run the show.
Who
literally.
run the world? Girls!
So it's ruled by 6 elected mistresses and a head honcho, simply known as the Elected One. And if you could see the smile on Troy's face when they said it was run by women, she had this. She's like, I like this. She said it reminds her of Beta Z. And Worf likes it too, because he gets up and he says, I appreciate strong women.
We've talked a lot in the previous episodes about how much this first season of The Next Generation feels like the 4th season of the original series. And Like, we know a lot of the story ideas and scripts were reworked from phase 2 that never took off. And this, like, let's pause and make a big deal about how unusual it is for women to be running shit, like, really feels like some 1960s influence to me.
Yeah, a little bit. So the last time that they dropped by this planet was like 62 years ago. So meaning that means that their society had a while to develop, but they didn't trust the humans in the first place. So this means they've had a long time to develop like more distrust.
Picard suggests that because this is a lady-dominant planet, maybe a lady should answer the phone call. So they pick up the phone. Mistress Beata, the elected one, is on the line. And Troy buries the lead here. She's like, oh, you know, we were in the neighborhood. It's been a while since we stopped by. And Beata says, no big deal. We don't expect or require a diplomatic courtesy call. Thanks for stopping by. Be on your way.
Move along. Yeah.
And Troy's like, actually, there's one other thing. We're looking for some people that we may have lost. So Beata says they will tolerate a short visit. Very cold and unwelcoming in her tone here. And before we go to commercial, I was expecting, not commercial, before we go to theme, I was expecting a classic Deanna moment here, like she's hiding something or whatever, right? You have the mind reader on the bridge. I would have expected the magic MacGuffin of the telepath to jump in here.
Yep.
Ever feel like you're not really wanted?
Leonard, what was it like on season 1? This is, season 1 of a brand new Trek. What was it like being on the set?
It was wonderful. It was exciting. The all the crew, everybody was pulling it together, and it was a new episode. They hadn't extended for a second season yet, and so everybody was pulling all the energy together. It was magic. Yeah, it was just beautiful.
Awesome.
And I loved every second of it. Yeah, really, truly. Everybody working on it, the costumers, everybody. I can tell you that Roddenberry, he saw the makeup. The original makeup for Trent was really made me look like a gorgeous woman with eyelashes and all of that.
What?
So the makeup was quite different than what you saw.
Huh.
And Roddenberry said, he found out I was introduced each other, and the execs were with him, and he says, "Now, which character is this?" And they said, "Oh, it's Trent from Angel One." "Oh no, I think this is going too far."
He's like, "Oh no."
And you can imagine that if they kept it that way, what would Mistress Beata look like?
Yeah.
Would they make her look like mannish? Or,
Right.
role reversal? What would happen? So I think it was a good decision,
I do too.
but they made me look, I would have dated me.
I would have dated you. I mean, yeah, totally.
I think it's interesting, like, as a trans person in 2025, and I think about, gender roles and presentation and all of that, like, it's interesting that not only as a, like, story choice or playing to the audience of the 80s, that subtle is more, less is more, right? To play it in a subtle way and not like drag almost, right? Like,
yeah,
I'm sure Gene was thinking, if we go too far with this, audiences of 1987 are going to not take it seriously or whatever, right?
Yeah, and would it get through the censors?
Right.
At that time, maybe not.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, yeah, it was. But that was something that we did, and I love the earring, the serpent earring.
Yeah.
They let me select it. I got to pick that one.
Oh wow.
And the costume department, so they also did things to my hair. They made my hair a certain spray that they used. I'm not sure what the product was, but they sprayed it. It looked a little reddish in the color and tinted it. So I loved working on the episode. It was just terrific.
Amazing.
Like I say, everybody was pulling for they were a little on pins and needles, hoping that they were going to get picked up and wanting every single episode to be smashing, and
Yeah.
top rate.
Do you nobody's listening, you can be honest. Do you have that serpent earpiece somewhere in your
No, but they sold the costume, and I said, well, wait a minute, where's the serpent earring?
Yeah.
Because it wasn't in the costume, that they sold.
Right? I'd love to like get a 3D scan of it and be able to like 3D print
Yeah.
the Star Trek industrial complex is doing a terrible job with marketing right now, and I'm just offering my services. That's all.
Well, it was Riker wanted it.
Oh.
But I got it. Because they'd already shot a scene with me with it in.
And
nice.
I got to pick, they gave me a selection of 4 earrings or certain, earpieces.
Okay.
And I got to select the one. I said, oh, I like that serpent, So they gave me that one, but he wanted it.
Wow, that's brilliant.
And they just gave him.
Well,
did they just give him?
They had to give him another one because they'd already shot the scene. So
lucky you. Riker's on the way to the transport room, carrying what looks like a vintage shiny metal Jello mold or something. It's like a disco ball.
Yeah, it's like some sort of Jello mold from the 70s, 80s.
And he bumps into Wesley and Wesley's buddy, and they're in these gray jumpsuits, and it looks like they're on their way to the holodeck for some ski instruction. And this is just, at this point, we don't know if that's going to have anything to do with the episode or not, but it's a great piece of world building, showing the capabilities of the holodeck without like spending entire episodes in it like we've done.
Yeah. As they're about to beam down, Picard reminds them once again to be on their best behavior. Remember what happened last time on Haven? They beam down to Angel 1, and this is where we meet Mistress Beata and the rest of her sort of entourage.
The establishing shot of this camera move, so we have the captain's log, and Picard's talking about this topsy-turvy backwards world where the women are in charge. The women are as aggressive and dominant as the men of Earth hundreds of years ago. They're the hunters, the soldiers, larger and stronger. And under this captain's log, we get a push in from the hallway into this great hall where all of the members of the council are waiting to receive them. And before we talk about our actors, there's a lot. I felt there was a lot being told visually here. So you have like 3 women on the left, 3 women on the right. They seem to maybe be wearing slightly different colors. And then you have the Mistress Beata in the middle, who seemed to have kind of a mix of both of those colors.
Mm-hmm.
And that really made me think about like political divisions in our world and our country today, the so-called left and right. Like I wondered right away, are we looking at this is not a united council, that they are divided on something?
I wonder if they did that on purpose.
That's what I'm saying.
Like, I don't know. They did choose, I guess, with casting, I guess they did try to find women who were very tall and of stature, and then men who were not. And the contrast is pretty interesting.
Yeah.
To paint that picture without them having to say anything.
They were like Amazonian women.
Mm-hmm.
So, there was the tall and short factor, certainly.
Mistress Beata is played by Karen Montgomery, and standing next to and slightly behind her is a shorter, hunky man with his chesticles out. It's Trent, played by Leonard Crofoot.
I was like, wow. I was like, I'm going to like this episode. So the costumes were, so for the women, they were feminine, but still a little bit military sort of. And then for the men, there was sort of a tunic sort of thing, but with pants, and the tunic had sort of an asymmetrical cutout to show one nipple.
The deepest V. As deep as a V can get.
Yes. And then the pants were just, I felt weird about the pants. I don't know how comfortable were those, Leonard, because they were very much a budgie smugglers.
They fit me. That's me.
Well, they looked very dance inspired to me. The way the straps crisscrossed up the leg, it looked like very ballet to me.
They did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I loved it. Yeah, I love the costumes. They just measured and fit, and they didn't even have to remeasure. They just made it and it fit. Sometimes they have to do fixings and stuff like that. Not this group, they were right on the ball. Yes.
Awesome.
It was, yeah.
I definitely want to see somebody with this cosplay.
Yeah, like at a convention.
If I saw someone wearing this at a con, I would like, that's Trent.
Have you ever seen anyone do Trent cosplay?
No, I haven't. I've seen that kind of costume, similar, in ballet class. Yes.
Mm-hmm, yeah. Mm-hmm.
But no, I've never seen anybody emulate Trent.
Okay, nerds, you have a mission now. I need to see someone come up to our booth.
Yes,
at a convention, rocking Trent cosplay.
Cool.
We'll take a photo and definitely send it to you, Leonard.
For sure. Everyone kneels here, as is the custom, and Troy restates their purpose for the visit, and Beata is clearly holding cards close to her chest. She's still not very trusting of these people. And Troy says, we're trying to track down these survivors, and Beata's like, that doesn't really seem like flagship of Starfleet type work. Troy's like, well, you'd be surprised the shit they send us out to do.
And Riker pipes up and he says, we don't consider, looking for even one survivor petty. It's all important. And she gives him a look is like, how dare you even open your mouth?
Yeah.
And I'm like, what?
Why is this man speaking right now?
Right.
Yeah.
And she asked Troy, like, is this man implying, she doesn't even address him. And she's like, is this man implying that we put a lesser value on life than you do?
This seemed a little out of character for Riker to me. I feel like you don't get to be number 2 on the Enterprise call sheet without knowing when to shut up and let Troy lead the mission.
Yeah, he did not read the room. I mean, he should know, but he's being a man.
Right.
Right.
Anyway, Troy smooths that all over and promises if we do find the survivors, we plan to take them with us and return them to their families. Apparently, number 2 on the Angel 1 call sheet is Ariel, who speaks up and basically questions if the Starfleets can be trusted. Ariel is played by Patricia McPherson, who you might remember as Bonnie in 62 episodes of the hit TV show Knight Rider.
Oh, yes. I know. Yeah.
Right?
I remember. Mm-hmm.
Again, Riker speaks. Shut up, Bill. He directly asks, are there survivors from our freighter on your planet? And Beata's like, I'm not prepared to answer that yet, which is, of course, an answer, right? There are survivors. There are definitely survivors here, and she's just not talking.
Yeah, so Trent shows the away party to their room and tells them that they got to stay there until he comes and gets them.
After Trent leaves, Tasha scans the room for bugs. Troy is also now convinced that there are survivors here, and she sensed a lot of general fear from the Angels, which is what I'm going to call them from now on. But they didn't all seem like to be too concerned about the same thing. They're all worried about something different. Data jumps right to the worst case scenario. What if there are survivors here, but the Angels deny it? And Riker sort of brushes it off. But I think Data is right to be thinking about all the possibilities and wanting to talk it out.
Of course.
Back on the Enterprise, Picard and Worf are in the turbo lift. Apparently, they're needed at the Romulan DMZ just as soon as this mission is over. Something about Romulans being spotted near an outpost. And as they step out of the elevator, Picard is walloped almost right in the face with a snowball from the open holodeck door. And I absolutely love this moment.
Poor Wesley. He's always at the wrong place at the wrong time when it comes to Picard.
Wesley goes like white as a sheet, and Picard says, I should have let those people kill you on that paradise planet, you know. This is another example of matter from the holodeck leaving the holodeck and not disappearing.
Yeah.
So we're still having continuity issues with holodecks.
Yeah, because it's supposed to be like once it leaves the holodeck, it's supposed to not be there anymore. Like people who leave the holodeck, they disappear. But It's semantics, but this is what we do.
Picard picks up an odor, which Worf thinks smells like some plant from his homeworld. And Wesley's got a head cold, so he can't smell anything. We're not sure if this is any kind of foreshadowing just yet, but it does hand us off nicely to Data back on the planet, inspecting a perfume bottle. Again, Data is programmed with the complete knowledge of humanity, but he doesn't recognize this object and is like taken aback when he squeezes it and gets spritzed in the face.
And of course, the rest of the crew, Riker and Tasha, take it upon themselves to explain to him what perfume is for. It's an aphrodisiac used to attract, the opposite sex.
Riker says it enhances sexual pleasure, and Data and Tasha just awkwardly look at each other.
Data, I'm only going to tell you this just once. It never happened.
Troy and Riker seem to be enjoying Data's childlike discovery, but this is all interrupted as Trent returns, declaring the elected one will see you now. So back to the Great Hall we go, but before Trent leaves, we get an excellent spritz of the aphrodisiac. That was a great moment.
That was an ad lib for the chest.
Oh,
they kept that. They only shot it twice, the scene, but the second one was with the chest, and the director, he says, "Oh, we're going to keep that. We got that. Did you get that?" "Yeah, we got that." So my thinking was that it was going to put hair on my chest, maybe, because Riker had a hairy chest, and mine didn't have any hair. And Mistress Beata liked hair on Riker's chest, it seemed.
I love
it. I was wanting to be, see if I couldn't do that too,
In the Great Hall, we get confirmation there are indeed 4 survivors of the Odin here, all male, all fugitives, and you had better deliver on your promise to pick them up and take them away. We also learn that there are certainly some divisions within this council because the decision to trust the Starfleets was not unanimous. Only one problem, though, the survivors are in hiding.
Beata considers these men dangerous because they came to them 7 years ago and they accepted their hospitality, and then they started to sort of rebel.
Troy's like, well, we should probably be able to scan for life forms and find them pretty easily.
The elected one will see you now.
On the Enterprise in sickbay, the beds are full of coughing teenagers. Everyone's sick. And of course, I did get, I knew something was not right when Wesley said he had the sniffles, because in this time, I remember Beverly saying in another episode, they've gotten rid of the common cold. Yeah. They've gotten rid of headaches. So no one should be sick.
Well, this isn't a head cold. It's COVID.
Yeah.
And
it's spreading like COVID.
Crusher updates Picard on this. She's only just discovered it, still running tests, but she's isolated the entire ski trip class, and she's ruled out person-to-person contact. So I guess we don't need to wear masks and isolate and stay 6 feet apart.
All of the scenes on the Enterprise were shot later. All the scenes that I had was on the planet.
Right.
So, and then they changed the sets, and then when I was gone, after I'd finished shooting, they shot all of those scenes.
Wow.
Yeah, that's how it worked.
Yeah.
Did you get to interact, or you probably didn't then, with Dorn?
No, I didn't.
Michael Dorn, Patrick Stewart, all those.
I saw them there the last day, but I didn't meet them really. I didn't work with them. No, but I did later in the Offspring. So
cool.
I got to work with Picard then, and it was great. But yeah, no, we were just the people on the planet were the ones that I worked with. Just
cool.
All those scenes were shot because of the set.
Right.
I forget whether they had the Enterprise on a different set, or I believe that they had to change the set, and that's why they, shot those scenes first, so that they could change the set and do all the other scenes on the Enterprise.
It's amazing how the stories come together so well when it's executed well, knowing that shit was all recorded out of order, and all of you on the planet had no connection to what was happening on the ship. Like, it's your stories are so isolated from each other
Right.
And then yet it all comes together beautifully. It's such an amazing like craft.
It's as though we're in sync the whole time. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Data thinks they might be able to identify some unique element the survivors would have had around them, something not naturally occurring here. And again, Riker cannot stop himself from running the show and tells, not asks, tells Beata that Data needs access to the library, and she is clearly annoyed again. And also, the library is too sophisticated for a lowly man to comprehend.
But then Data steps forward.
Data says, I'm an android, mistress, although anatomically I am male. And Tasha says, oh, yes, you are.
Oh, my.
But then Beata, you can see in this scene, her eyes, like, they don't show her looking at him. They show her and her eyes dropping down to his nether region. And this is something I would think, like, you'd see a bunch of males do. So she's verifying the fact that he is anatomically male.
I think she sent off Trent. She said maybe an android can teach Trent a thing or two, right? So
Yes,
it was
I was
implied
gonna-
that he went away to check things out. I don't know.
You did great. There was some great face acting
Yes.
here because
Yeah.
when he said, so you were kind of smiling.
Uh-huh.
Trent was kind of smiling, but then she said that and basically took the wind out of your sails, and you could see like your face kind of fall and like, hey, wait a minute, that
Yeah.
hurts, you know.
Yeah, like
Did you get a lot of direction about how like you were meant to feel as the lesser of the sexes? Because there are a few times in the episode, and this is one of them, that your face really seemed to like give away those unspoken feelings.
No, the direction was mostly, covering the shots and everything else. They trust the actor, so I wasn't really directed as to how I should react to something. I just played it. They shot it, and then they have to move on and get the other shots and that sort of thing. So it was kind of left up to me to. They chose me because I was whatever I gave at the audition. Was what they wanted. So I just listened and played it, But I always see my take on Trent and Mistress Beata is that Trent was her henchman. He was her best friend and perhaps lover, but he was everything was to her. He took care of her. He did everything he possibly could. That's why he was a little tentative about these newcomers. He liked the fact that they were there because it was exciting. There was somebody from another planet,
Yeah.
It was exciting. But at the same time, he had to make sure that they weren't going to harm Mistress Beata because that's his job.
Yeah.
Right.
He does her bidding. He trusts in her as the leader.
Yeah.
So that's how I played it.
Yeah, he was kind of like her number one.
Right. Yeah, very much.
Yeah.
So they determine the unique element is platinum, and Worf and Geordi are going to scan the planet for platinum. But on the planet, Riker meets up with Troy to pick up his outfit that he's supposed to wear for his meeting with Beata. And both Deanna and Tasha are like, you've got to be kidding me. You're actually going to put that on? And Riker's just like, do as the Romans do, and he lists off all these other times that I've had to wear this and that for meetings with leaders.
And he doesn't understand why. Yeah, he doesn't understand from Tasha why they're giving an attitude.
Yeah, it was a little like, I don't know, junior high, childish, giggly girls that didn't land very well with me.
No, and he did suggest, oh, what's your problem? Because Beata's pretty,
Uh-huh.
It was very junior high.
Yep. So he's going to wear the same outfit that the men on this world wear. It's like purpley pants with black straps and ribbons or whatever that crisscross up the legs, and a shimmery deep V.
Deep V with one nipple. Back on the Enterprise, Dr. Crusher is scanning the captain. She's in his ready room. He's sick, and she's giving him that look like, you're too sick for this. She declares him unfit for command, and she orders him to bed. Of course, he doesn't like that at all. he goes towards the turbo lift and he goes into the bridge and he tells LaForge that he's gonna actually follow her advice, and he's handing over command to LaForge, who suddenly realizes, like, this isn't what I signed up for.
Speaking of sick, though, on the bridge, Worf and Geordi have a quick comedy moment about Klingon sneezes. and it's not said, but it must be like ship shaking powerful. Picard and Crusher come onto the bridge long enough to hand off command to Geordi. This is a great little moment for Geordi. He gets to go sit in the captain's chair. He's kind of proud of this. But then Worf picks up a trace of platinum, and then LeVar gets a wonderful little make it so moment. He gets to say Picard's line. I loved it. I love that for Geordi.
To make it so. And I think this is one of the few times, which, if maybe just the one time that Geordi was ever left in charge, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Riker has now changed into his Angel One cosplay, and Tasha and Deanna are still giggling and teasing him. Inappropriate. Funny, but inappropriate. This is workplace, right? Anyway, Riker goes to meet Beata, who is quite pleased with his new look. And great news, we have a lead on the survivors.
And his look is, like you said, he's very hairy.
Yeah.
Who knew that Jonathan Frakes would be so hairy? But yeah, he's quite hairy.
We had that same kind of reaction when we saw Spock shirtless for the first time. Leonard Nimoy was a hairy cat, too.
Was he?
Yeah.
I should remember that, because I'm like Spock #1 fan.
Yeah,
so
you are.
But I don't remember.
Beata is impressed with how quickly they found them, but Ariel is suspicious. And this scene really tips its hand toward the end of the episode in a way that I don't think I caught on first watch. Ariel was in the minority on that Find the Survivors vote, and she's still pretty vocal about it. She storms out, and Trent follows, leaving Beata and Riker alone. Riker's ready to get a search party going, but Beata would rather have a please fuck me party. And she talks him into staying with her while Tasha and Troy handle the business.
She's like, let them do it. I want you here with me.
Besides, she says, you said you had a gesture of goodwill to give me, and I'm hoping that gesture is a hip thrust.
He's all about diplomatic relations. So.
Oh, yeah.
And so he does call down to Troy and Yar and say, I'm going to stay over here with her. You guys go do the thing.
So Tasha says phaser's on stun, and Data, who I had forgotten was even down here, steps out of this alcove in the wall like he was in standby mode or something. He's like the, what's the
Borg?
Roomba coming to life?
Oh, yeah, the Roomba.
Yeah, or the Borg, right. They beam away and materialize up on this ridge that looked to me like the same set where Wesley fell in the river, jumping across the rocks. Remember that?
In the holodeck?
It was like, yeah. It
Could
was like
be.
different levels.
It's probably reused set, yeah. So they beam in. So I guess there's the site-to-site beam thing that
we didn't used to be able to do. Yeah.
Right. So Enterprise can beam somebody from one site to another without beaming them back to the ship. So they beam down to where the survivors are. And there's a guy that looks very familiar. And he says, I've been expecting you.
I don't believe this. You're going to put that thing on and parade around like one of them?
Ramsey is played by Sam Hennings, who did a lot of guest work in the 80s, 90s, and aughts. He had a Netflix show come out last year where he stars opposite Beau Bridges called The Neon Highway. Remember the last time Picard was sick and we caught him at his desk in his quarters working instead of resting? He's at it again, and he calls up the bridge for an update. The setup from earlier pays off as Worf sneezes and the entire ship shakes. The phone call reminds us of the stakes, 82 more reported cases of COVID, and here's an amazing idea that I forgot they ever did and should have probably done more often. Who needs an isolation ward when you can just program the holodeck to become one? What a great idea.
Yeah. Dr. Crusher, man, she's amazing. There's still the impending Romulan threat, so they have to think about that too.
Worf sneezes again while he tries to pass along an IT ticket from engineering. Something about climate controls. And Geordi sends Worf to sickbay, and then he's like, all right, I'm on my way to engineering. But Worf reminds him, you're in command, buddy. You got to stick here. So he reassigns the ticket to somebody else.
That was a nice moment for Geordi to realize, hey, I'm the one in charge right now. I don't have to go to engineering. I need to learn how to delegate.
Yeah.
Down on the planet, Data is explaining to Ramsey how they found him. Basically, there was platinum in your devices or whatever, and that they're going to bring him home. But Ramsey, absolute plot twist, he doesn't want to go. He does not want to leave. And turns out he and the other survivors have settled in. They've gotten married. And in some cases, they've even had kids.
Speaking of things that make kids, Riker's back at Beata's place for a nightcap. And he's trying to talk business. He's like, I'm here on business. Let's stick to the business. And she's trying to get him into bed. This is a very flirtatious scene, and I loved it. She explains that on this world, the women are the breadwinners, which means the menfolk get to just chill and enjoy life. And Riker says, well, the opposite used to be true on my world, but eventually we beat down the ridiculous conservative ideology behind it, and now we share responsibilities and pleasures equally. And he tries to resist her advances, although he definitely does find her attractive, and she finds him more attractive than any man ever. Probably because he's not conditioned to being subservient like the men on her world. It's that like excitement of something new, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that resistance is exciting.
This is the most soap opera in space moment I think we've had in this series thus far, as they start to make out and the doors open and Trent busts in to kill the mood.
This is when I realized that Trent it was more, he was jealous. I got the sense that Trent was jealous. And it wasn't just he's her right-hand man. I think he maybe had a thing for her.
I was.
Trent's Angels. We're just going to call him Trent's Angels.
Oh, I love that. So Trent has come in with this gift that Riker brought for Beata. And so he hands Riker this disco ball box. And Beata's like, okay, scram. But again, this was very much telling that he's very reluctant to leave, very tentative. I don't like the idea of what y'all are doing in here right now.
Yep.
Did you and Karen talk about this relationship backstory that doesn't get told? Is this something that you conspired together to play those feelings?
Not really. We just there was the tall and short of it, and we just kind of played it and went with it,
The tall and short of it. I love that.
I loved standing next to her and working with her. She's fabulous, and it was easy to look up at her as a leader. So it just fit, like a glove, hand in a glove, it just worked. She wrote me on Facebook some time ago and asked me, did I have anything auditioning before Angel when I explained, the last Outpost to her. So,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we were in touch that way, later.
Nice.
That's awesome.
Very nice.
Yeah, so glad you're not a Ferengi.
Although I'm still on the record, if you want to mangle me in a transporter accident, you can glue whatever you want to me. The gift that Riker brings is an Albany meditation crystal, which kind of reminded me of those Himalayan salt lamps, but it's transparent acrylic. And Riker turns it on, it glows, plays some music. And Beata's like, now I've got a gift for you. And they start making out again.
Back on the planet in the survivors' hideout, Ramsey kind of explains to the away team that at first they thought it was paradise when they first got there. There's all these women and they're beautiful and we got to wear these skimpy outfits. We love it. But then they realized they were men that were basically glorified accessories with no respect, no rights. And when they kind of went against this, the government said, basically, get out or get crushed. And it forced them into hiding. Still, he refuses to leave. But Data reminds the rest of the away team, Troy and Yar, that they can't force them to go because he's not a member of Starfleet. And technically, they don't have to obey the Prime Directive.
The Prime Directive? How often have you broken it?
See, the Prime Directive has many different functions.
The Prime Directive?
There's more what you'd call guidelines than actual rules. It's a very interesting proposition. Let me think it over.
Back on the Enterprise, Geordi is checking on Dr. Crusher. The COVID outbreak is getting worse. We even see her treating young children, if you had forgotten that there are families aboard the Enterprise. But the red states keep pretending it's all a hoax from China. They're out of beds, confining people to quarters. Nobody's dead yet. Oh, and don't forget the Romulan plotline that I definitely keep forgetting. This happened in another episode where we had to finish this mission in a hurry because some plague was killing a bunch of people on another planet, but we never saw it, so it never felt like a real threat.
I thought it was, I think it was TOS.
It might have been.
There were like 3 storylines going, and one of them never got fully developed. It was just in the background.
Yeah, I just need one cutaway to some Romulans to make it seem real to me.
I love the comparison between the parallel between Dr. Crusher being the woman in charge on the Enterprise and Mistress Beata in charge on the planet.
Yeah.
I love that.
The way you're going through, it's fabulous because I'm hearing it as it, I haven't seen it in a while.
Yeah.
But I see the parallel there. Even Picard has to kowtow to her because she's the leader.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I didn't even pick that up. So amazing. Yeah. So because all the men are down and she's
in charge.
Yeah. So Crusher explains that this particular COVID outbreak mutates every 20 minutes. Holy shit. Could you imagine telling the American people they had to get a new vaccine every 20 minutes or whatever? Oh, man. Tasha calls up to report that the away team will be returning back to Beata's complex to pick up Riker and then return to the Enterprise. But before we go, Tasha asks, "You said you were expecting us. How did you know?" Ramsey's like, I can't answer that, but all right, we wish you well. We beam out. And just as soon as they're gone, dun, 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 Ariel steps out from behind the cave wall.
I knew it.
And they embrace.
I knew it. They've been getting busy. They might even have kids, but they're apparently married.
Speaking of getting busy, back in Beata's bed, it seems like a refractory period is ending and round 2 is about to start. With a little light conversation about her appreciation of Riker's skills.
Negotiating skills, yeah.
Mm-hmm. She rolls on top, but before they can start the rodeo round, the doorbell chimes. So Trent has learned the lesson not to just burst in, ring the bell first.
Otherwise, he's going to see something he doesn't want to see.
Yeah.
But he does ring the bell, and they straighten themselves up, and they stand up, and he comes in with urgent news that the away team is back, but they don't have the survivors. But here comes, right behind Trent, is Yar and Troy and Data.
And the news is that Ramsey and the others refuse to leave. And unfortunately, I know we pinky promised, but we can't take them by force. And unfortunately, this means that Beata will sentence the Odin survivors to death.
Well, that escalated quickly.
I'm sorry. I'm getting sick.
I'm sure half the ship knows that by now.
Picard is in bed, isolating with COVID, when Crusher comes in with a Coleman thermos, like off-the-shelf Coleman thermos.
He's also shirtless, which I'm like, there's a lot of chest in this episode.
He's
also in bed, shirtless. And she's taking care of him.
She's like, this shit tastes nasty, but it'll make you feel better, and like pours it down his throat while he chokes on it.
So, Leonard, like you said, I didn't even pick up on this before. Yeah, she's in charge, and the man in charge who is normally in charge is shirtless, just like on the planet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's neat.
Suddenly, Crusher gets a whiff of something and asks Picard if he's wearing cologne, and he's like, "Doctor, I'm dying of COVID. When the hell do you think I had the time, energy, or care to put cologne on?"
And then he mentions, Worf smelled the same thing. So she starts to put 2 and 2 together, and she's like, oh, so this virus is airborne, and it spreads like some sort of sweet smelling particle that basically tricks people into taking a big, deep sniff. So they're sniffing themselves sick. Is basically how that is.
You sniff it deep into your lungs, and it becomes COVID in your system. So she rushes off to the office with this new information. Meanwhile, in the Hall of Angels.
Oh, in the Hall of Justice. I love that. I love that cartoon.
Data gives Riker the update on the COVID outbreak and the Romulan situation. Everything's really dire at this point. So Riker's like, well, it sounds like we better be getting. But Deanna doesn't feel right about leaving in the middle of this whole death sentence thing. Riker's like, they'll be fine. They've been able to hide out for years. You know, they'll be able to handle themselves. But suddenly everything is not fine. Beata and Trent enter the room, followed by Ramsey and his lot. And Ramsey thinks that the Starfleets gave up their location, but it wasn't them. They tracked Mistress Ariel sneaking out.
So they announced that the fugitives are going to be executed tomorrow.
And Ariel will join them for being a sneaky two-timing bitch.
Poor Ariel. She's just like following her man.
Yeah. In Beata's room, she's filing some paperwork, and Riker is trying to reason with her. You claim to be an advanced society, but you still use the death penalty? We've talked about that many times on the show, too.
I love that he says to her, if you had another way to solve this, would you take it? Would you do it? So basically, if you can avoid killing someone, would you take that opportunity?
And his suggestion is anyone who wants to go, anyone who is like going against your lifestyle, who wants to leave, we'll take all of them. But when they present this to Ramsey, Ramsey is like, no, I don't want to die, but I don't want to leave my home either, you know? So when Riker tries to force the issue, Data reminds him of the plethora of Starfleet regulations that we'd be violating if we just yank these people out of here. But Riker would rather face disciplinary action than live with the guilt of letting these people be executed.
Even though they're willing to be executed.
Unfortunately, when he calls the Enterprise to beam everyone up, Crusher answers the phone. And because of the pandemic happening on board, she can't let anybody beam up. It's not safe. But luckily, we have an android who would not be affected by COVID. So Riker's going to send him back to the Enterprise and have him haul ass to the DMZ before it's too late. That leaves the away team to figure out what to do about the survivors.
You claim to be an advanced society, and yet you resort to executions in order to suppress those who don't share your views?
I don't expect you to understand.
Why? Because I'm only a man?
Trent arrives with an invitation from Mistress Beata to attend the reaffirmation of Angel One's moral imperative. And Tasha's like, is that the civilized word you try to use for murder here? Because you're doing murder is what you're doing. Riker's like, nope, we're not going to go. And Trent says, Beata's not going to be very happy about that. But they're interrupted by a phone call. And all those moments before where Data took shit too literally come to pay off as Riker's like, I thought I told you to go to the DMZ immediately. And Data's like, no, you didn't say immediately. What you said was get there before it's too late. And I did the maths. I figured it out. It takes this long to travel there.
What time is it now? And
yeah.
The thing that you do before you leave. How much time do I have to get there?
Yeah.
And he says, you have exactly 47 minutes before the Enterprise has to leave. So they have, at the latest, they've got to leave in 47 minutes.
The triumphant Star Trek music sounds as Riker says, actually, Trent, changed our minds. We'd love to go see this moral imperative of yours in action.
And I can tell Trent's not happy as they go out the door. Trent's following him. And he's like, damn it. I thought we got rid of you.
In the Great Hall, Beata says, we've determined that the heretical teachings of Ramsey and his followers are inconsistent with harmonious life on Angel One. Wow, there's a thing we've seen over and over in human history. In the room, there's this device that has like two arms that come up, and there's gadgets on it with lights. And between them is a large vase. And to demonstrate this high-tech guillotine, Trent holds up a crystal ball. So not just number one, probably lover, but also executioner.
Yeah, Trent's not just a pretty face.
Yeah.
Because he's a killer.
Yeah. Yeah, he would follow through if she said to do it, he would have done it.
So the demonstration is Trent's holding this crystal ball and he lowers his hand to it and the vase vaporizes. And they're like, see, quick and painless. We've got some compassion. We're not totally heartless people. But Riker's like, before we see this living example of your compassion, may I speak? And Riker takes the stand and makes the argument that this gender revolution that you're worried about, that you're hoping to stop, it was happening long before Ramsey and his people got here. Yes, they may have reinforced the feelings that these people had and shown them that, there are other ways to live. But he's like, I'm from a planet where killing people to stop a movement was kind of our whole deal for a long time. And trust me, it never works.
Yeah.
You kill these people, they become martyrs for their cause, and then you're screwed.
And it's just going to strengthen the movement because martyrs can't be silenced. So Trent has his hand. It's like an inch from the crystal ball.
She stops him from completing.
It's like she wasn't going to, but Ariel yells out Beata, and then she finally does stop him, and they go into a chamber to consider what Riker has said. So they all leave.
Back on the Enterprise, Crusher calls Data on the bridge and exclaims, "Bingo, Data!" And Data's like, "Bingo? That's an old Earth game, isn't it? That doesn't have anything to do with the COVID pandemic." Another dumb Data moment. Like sometimes he is just the most knowledgeable machine in the universe. And sometimes they play him for like a child who just doesn't know anything.
It just makes for great comedic moments, though.
Yeah. 17 minutes on the clock. Crusher has the inoculant. So Data calls up Riker with the good news, and Riker has a plan. He tells Data to lock onto all of them, Ramsey and his people included, and stand by to evacuate if needed.
So he's still planning on yoinking all of them if he has to and saving a life, even if it meant violating a prime directive or something.
Beata and the council return to the Great Hall, having considered Riker's closing arguments. They've decided to stay the execution of the prisoners. Instead, they'll be exiled somewhere far away where life will be difficult and their crazy ideas about men and women won't be able to affect our perfect matriarchy. She tells Riker that for a man, you can be very clever. So the away team beams up, and Dr. Crusher is waiting outside the bridge turbo lift with a hypo spray to give them the vaccine as they arrive. And Chair Chat this week has a lot of fun bits. Riker asks about the captain, and from the command chair, Picard chokes out a response. He's still getting over his COVID. He's got some throat issues going on. Riker goes to the forward station and slaps Data on the arm as if to say, well done. I thought that was a nice moment for them. Picard says that Data has been briefing him on the away team's comportment down on the planet, and then he's looking forward to reading their reports. And already Riker's thinking of like, okay, I'm going to omit some things from maybe I'm not going to be completely honest.
He's like, I was like, I can't put that in the report. I can't put that in the report. I can't put that in the report.
We went into her bedroom, redacted.
It's all redacted.
Time to deal with the Romulans, I guess. So Picard hoarsely gives orders to make for the DMZ, Warp 6, but struggles to get out the word engage. So Riker has to say it instead. Smiles all around as we warp off to the next adventure.
Boy, I'm sure glad that's over with.
I'll be glad to be relieved of this cargo.
Me too.
It is done, and perhaps just as well.
Yeah, but I learned something today.
I sincerely hope that this is the last time that I find myself here.
You just don't get it, do you, Jean-Luc? You see, of all the species, yours cannot abide stagnation. Change is at the heart of what you are. That is the exploration that awaits you. Not mapping stars and studying nebula, but charting the unknown possibilities of existence.
It's sort of interesting, to my opinion, that the seed of bipartisanship has been planted.
Yeah.
That there's hope. She says, she says to Riker, I will consider your thoughts. So she's thinking, even though she exiles them to a planet or to a different area, the seed of possibilities of change is planted.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think.
absolutely. Yeah.
This is the kind of place that I like when Lower Decks goes back to revisit an old Star Trek story, like this would be a great place for Lower Decks to come back and visit and see what has changed, in those years.
Right. Yeah, that would be really interesting. Yeah. You can imagine any number of scenarios.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So obviously there's the gender role reversal going on. And while part of me kind of wished that they'd rolled up and treated it like just any other planet and didn't make a big deal out of it. Part of me wanted that. But I do appreciate the way that it made me feel as a viewer, like we are so accustomed in our society to men being in power. To see the reverse of it really makes you like stop and think. Like it's a bold statement when you show it in reverse.
Yeah, it's like, whoa, that doesn't sound right. Like for you to be saying that to a man. I mean, even for me, like some of the things that the ways that she would treat Riker, and also Trent, and just kind of like ordering him around, not really having any respect. I mean, that's something that you would see in a patriarchal society.
From the standpoint of Trent, he's lived this. He's lived on this planet all his life.
Right.
Yeah.
So he's accustomed to this way of life. But Ramsey is coming in, and he's not accustomed to this way of life, but he's fallen in love, and he wants to be a part of it. But his plan is to have men in charge. Perhaps he's more accustomed to that. So it sets in motion a whole array of humanistic thoughts of life, living together with each other. So it's really interesting, I think. But Trent he's content with his role.
Right, because that's all he's known.
That's what he's known. But even he can see that these are different people, so he must have some thoughts of change also. But he doesn't acknowledge it so much because he must serve Mistress Beata at all times.
Right. Exactly. And the way that they did this, like you said, Sarah, they didn't have to be so in your face with the whole women are in charge, but they just chose to.
I think it worked. I think it really worked.
I think so.
There is something about different people coming into your comfort, your comfort space, right? So Beata says about the survivors, when they first arrived, they were thankful for the hospitality, but eventually they started to make unreasonable demands and went against the natural order. And this really felt to me like it made me think of people who immigrate to the U.S. I mean, not anymore. We stopped all of that apparently, but there are two big reactions, right? One is kind of expecting immigrants to Americanize over time.
Yeah.
To give up their cultures and their ways of life to sort of quote unquote fit in.
Right.
And the other is more welcoming of different cultures, that different backgrounds and ideas and beliefs make us all better in the end. And so that was something that I wasn't expecting to think about when I watched this episode. Immigration was not even anywhere near my brain.
That's great, because it didn't come up for me either, but that is a great point.
I think there's a lot of parallels to all the Star Trek adventures. It's going places where you haven't been before, discovery. And on planet Earth, we have that too.
Yeah.
There's that parallel. So I think that's maybe in some part why Star Trek is so important to a lot of people, because they want to know, they want peace and love and harmony and to get along. But sometimes it's hard because you have a different point of view.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's why I think Star Trek is fantastic, and the following is unbelievable to me. It's like, wow, years and years later, I'm signing autographs.
Yeah.
It's like it's amazing.
Once you're part of the Star Trek family,
That's for life.
Yeah.
The other piece of this immigration thing for me was like, so these survivors have planted roots and had families.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And I was really struck by how similar this is to, like, we talk about DACA and these children who are in the U.S. whose parents may have come here illegally, but these children have no connection or memory to this other country, and the people work and pay taxes and pay into our economy and contribute to our society and our culture. And we're just going to load them into trucks and dump them somewhere else, often somewhere they've never been.
Yeah.
Like, where is the humanity in that idea? And I think about, like, okay, we're going to exile Ramsey and his people, or we're going to take them away and take them from the home that they've been trying to build here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I see that.
And Riker's just trying to save their lives and deal with whatever afterwards. He's just trying to save their actual lives. But you're right. But you're right. That is very much our immigration right now.
Yeah.
Well, and you've heard this joke before, and for the listeners, I apologize that you have to hear it again. But when they offer to take Ramsey and anyone else who wants to go, that made me think of my often tongue-in-cheek idea, which is that maybe we're just too different to live together. Like, maybe we give everybody a one-time relocation pass, and people can move to the South and own each other and shoot their guns at each other or whatever it is they want to do. Yeah. And in the North, we'll give everybody housing and food and health care, and we'll build a wall on the Mason-Dixon line.
Equality.
And and that was kind of on offer here. Like, this is how our society works. And if that doesn't work for you, fine. Go with the Enterprise and make the society you want somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
But the idea that I don't want to give up my home is one of those things that really prevents this kind of solution from working. This idea of, like, mitosis, where we divide ourselves off into two different groups and start over. I like living in Montana. I don't want to move to Texas or whatever, right?
But somebody who is in charge is threatened by you doing that.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh,
and
for sure.
Which is crazy to me, but whoever is in charge is threatened by you doing that because maybe it's threatening their way of life, or somehow they see it as a threat.
Beata and the Angels stand to lose power if this idea of gender equality is introduced into their society any further.
Yeah, I think that's the deciding factor for them, is things are going to change for them if more men start, being treated as individuals and have rights and feelings and etc.
I think of that there's always hope, because I did research writing about the history of New York City.
Mm-hmm.
And on Manhattan, you have all these boroughs where people go, Chinatown, Watts, wherever. They go and they separate. But all their daily life, they connect. And they don't have war. They don't have fighting each other. They connect, but then they separate.
Yeah.
And they go to their boroughs, their places that they're comfortable with, what their customs are.
Right.
So to me, it's all possible to live on the same planet and have everybody do different things, but work together.
Agree.
And I think that's the message of Star Trek, largely.
I think so. Or that's the aim of it, at least.
Yeah. And also, I feel like Star Trek, or Riker rather, went for diplomacy. He was just trying to talk them out of it, but still ready with his finger on the button to intervene if he needed to. He was ready to yoink them all out of there, just to save their lives. But he was really hoping that diplomacy would win, and which I think is something that we always need to defer to instead of just start shooting or whatever. Go try diplomacy first.
Yeah.
We can handle all the pleasantries later. Now, let's get down to business.
I am willing to pay handsomely for you.
I think you've had a little too much to drink.
Now, what do you know about my money?
Your money?
The money he stole!
You stole his money?
Those vouchers I gave you were every bit as good as Latinum.
You can spend Latinum almost anywhere. Those vouchers are only good at your bar.
We want to thank everyone who supports the show on Patreon. We especially want to thank our founding admirals. A special thanks to Russell, Allie, Peter, Sarah, Sherry, and Bruce. Thank you, patrons.
Thanks, guys. Captain, Starfleet Academy is requesting an update on our estimated arrival.
Finalists, please take your seats.
I must admit you have a very fast mind. Once I realized it was a trick question, there was only one answer.
Although only one student will be chosen for the Academy, any of you could easily qualify. Candidates, good luck.
You got called to the superintendent's office. It's a story I'd like to hear.
Becca's back now with the answer to this week's Starfleet Academy Cadet Challenge for the episode Angel 1. Remind us the question.
Angel 1 is one of several matriarchal societies in the Trek universe. How many others can you name?
You're so evil. We came up with Betazoids, and Kawat Milat. Is that any of it?
What is the Kawat Milat? What planet is that?
Weren't they the Romulan? No, were they the Romulan nuns?
It was.
Okay, so let me just tell you why I'm asking. In what I could find, because this was not something that was actually. Usually, I go through like the fandom trivia and get something that's already been. I couldn't find anything really that was already kind of pre-made trivia for this episode, so I had to come up with my own.
So
in my research, I could not find a list.
So you made up shit.
Okay.
So no, listen. What I'm saying is, I couldn't find a pre-curated list. So
yeah. So you had to make your own.
What I did find was, Skria.
Okay. I believe that.
Betazoid.
Okay.
The planet Signet. Hold on, I have to learn how to read Roman numerals.
One of the planets in the Signet system.
Signet something. 9, I think. Orion.
Oh, I wouldn't.
Oh
damn.
my god, I forgot the
Should've
green
known
ladies.
that.
The green women.
Yes.
And the Paragons, which I think were in Enterprise.
Okay, well, we haven't gotten there yet.
Yeah, I know.
I
knew you weren't going to get that one.
Okay.
Okay, so 1 point, is that what we get?
Well, no, the one you looked up.
Yes.
You have. That's why I asked where. I'll give it to you if that's true.
It says, the Kawat Milat, formerly the Order of the Kawat Milat, were a group of Romulan warrior nuns. They were an all-female group. While a male could train in their ways, he could never truly be one of them. The Kawat Milat were the most feared enemies of the Tal Shiar, and by extension, the Zhat Vash.
Okay, that sounds like a society to me.
Sure.
Okay,
great.
I'll give you 2 points.
Affirmative.
Whew, 2 points. My God, this is ridiculous.
Otherwise, we would not have gotten.
Listen, I'm not a pushover. You got to earn these points.
And Allie and I are also going to take a point for knowing that Leonard Crofoot was in 3 episodes total of Star Trek.
Yes, we'll take that one.
I'll give you the point if you can name them.
Angel 1.
Lal.
That's the Offspring. What's
Offspring.
What's the future Trek one? Is it Voyager?
It's Voyager. I remember the costume. You kind of look like a Bajoran. Leonard, you could probably tell us.
Oh, I'm sure.
Omar Spectator. That was the Omar Spectator.
You're not allowed to IMBD him right now. I see that look in your face.
All right, fine. We got 2 out of 3. Jeez.
Affirmative.
All right, 4-point total takeaway. I guess that's not too bad.
Oh, yeah. We'll take it.
Okay. We'll take it.
All right, next week we'll be reviewing Star Trek The Next Generation Season 1, Episode 15, 11001001, and we will not have the help of Leonard Crofoot this time. So it's just you and me, Allie. What is the question for 11001001?
When Jonathan Frakes plays the trombone in this episode, why does it look like he has no idea what he's doing?
I know he did play the he did play an instrument in college.
I didn't even know that.
I know I was like, did he really know how to play? So he did know how to play, but maybe it wasn't the trombone. I don't know, or maybe the trombone wasn't real.
Because I feel like he suggested the trombone for his character. I feel like I've read that somewhere.
But he does know how to play an instrument.
Why
does he not? Why does he look like he doesn't know what he's doing? Was it maybe the prop was just, I
Okay, I've got a solid guess.
Go ahead.
They hadn't decided what the music was going to be prior to filming. So they filmed him just winging it, and then the music that they decided on after filming did not match the song that he was actually playing during the filming. That's my guess.
that is a valid.
He was playing one song during the filming, and they dubbed in a different song in post. They decided to go with a different song.
And that makes total sense. I don't want to copy you, so but that makes total sense. Maybe I'll just say the prop was faulty or something. I don't know. I don't know. I'll say something. Yeah.
Okay. So like maybe it wasn't a real trombone. Maybe it was a prop that didn't actually play or something.
Or didn't actually. Yeah.
All right. Well, you know how to play along. Head out to your social media, share this episode, use the hashtag Starfleet Challenge, tell us what your guess is, and we will pick out a winner. Leonard, thank you so much for joining us. This has been so fun.
I thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Real pleasure meeting you and being here.
I very much appreciate what you brought to the conversation, and you certainly made us think about some things that we hadn't thought about.
Definitely.
Neat. And you too. Likewise. I loved it.
Before we let you go, would you like to tell people where to find you, see what you're doing with your life and projects?
You can find me on Instagram and Facebook, and you can go to Vimeo and YouTube and look for Leonard Crofoot or Leonard John Crofoot, and I've got some albums out, and there's all sorts of things. Just put in my name, my full name, Leonard John Crofoot or Leonard Crofoot.
Awesome.
And you'll find it. You'll find stuff. Yeah.
Are you still touring and dancing? Do you have any shows or anything coming up?
I have my one person show, which was Nijinsky Speaks, and that lasted for 10 years. But that's now I've put that to sleep now, and can no longer. It was a grueling. It was me alone on the stage for an hour and 20 minutes.
Wow.
Oh wow!
But I went East Coast and West Coast. There's a website on. If you go to my website, it's leonardcrofoot.com.
Okay.
And on it, there's a click to go to nijinskyspeaks.com, and will tell you all about Nijinsky Speaks, which is my show. But I don't do that now. No, now I'm going to be writing some songs. I've put out 3 albums with spoken word and music and my artwork, and got together with TuneCore, the distributor, and I'm just putting out. I put my hobbies to effort and packaged it.
Yeah.
And
wonderful.
Yeah, I'm just put it out there, and I've written 3 songs, and I'll be writing some more songs and putting those out this year.
Awesome.
That's so great.
Yeah, it's fun. It's kind of neat. Thanks for sharing that. That brought me back to a lot of it. It's neat.
Awesome. Thank you for hanging out with us. This is what we love to do.
Next time, we'll be reviewing Season 1, Episode 15 of Star Trek The Next Generation, 11001001.
Glory to your house.
Make it so, number 1.
Humanist Trek is available wherever you replicate your podcasts. Follow us on all the social medias at Humanist Trek. Become a patron at patreon.com/humanisttrek. Open hailing frequencies to podcast@humanisttrek.com and visit our website, humanisttrek.com. Humanist Trek is a production of Sarah Austin Media.
Technologic, 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 technologic.